Okay, let's talk about our snare. So here's what it sounds like before. Sounds really good. This is a great snare drum. It's not a particularly expensive snare drum, but remember what we talked about. Sometimes it's just how you tighten it. I got this at a drum clinic. This is a Tama Metalworks snare drum. It's steel, it's deep, and it's kind of small diameter. So it's only a 13-inch diameter, but it's like 6.5-inch deep. These dimensions I just love. The metal gives it a little bit more bite, but to combat that, I use a specific drum head. I'm using a 13-inch Evans Genera Dry. Now, if you notice, it's got these little holes. I don't know if you can see these little holes. That lets the air kind of pass through a little bit. And on the underside, it's actually got almost like this zero ring. See that? Built in to the head. So it really dries out the head without the need of putting any kind of muting on top of the snare drum. Okay, this snare drum is 8 lugs, just like my floor tom. So again, the shape that we're looking for is going to be that square. Then we're going to adjust across this way, like that. And then the next square is going to be the same thing here. And same thing, we're going to adjust across each of these lugs. That had a lot of dust in it. So again, I want to make sure she's nice and seated properly. Okay, this is going to give me a little extra play because of this X click that I have over here. So I kind of got to feel that a little bit. I can't just let the drum key spin it out and do its thing like that. All right, she's seated. The bottom head is pretty cranked. Now, a little different with the snare drum because really my rule with the snare drum is just to crank it. I just like to crank it up and get a nice tight sound out of it. That's kind of what I'm going for. So I'm not going so much for the tone or anything like that. I want to crack. Now that's personal taste. It's whatever you kind of like. But so I'm not going to loosen the reso head here. But I'm sure over time it's gotten a little bit looser. So I'm just going to give everything a little tightening up. So I'm just going to give it a quarter of a turn. A quarter of a turn. Same thing. I'm going to follow my square. So now I have all evenly tight. Again, nice and cranked. I'm not going to loosen that. I'm not going to play with it. Just going to tighten it up a little bit. Our snares themselves look like they're in good shape. So let's go ahead, flip it over. Seat this head a little bit. Work it in. Okay, starting from our corners. Half turn. Okay, now I know that's not nearly enough. So we're going to do that whole thing again, starting on this corner. Already it's starting to sound good. It's got some nice bite to it. Again, depending on how cranked you want that, that sounds killer. Just like that. Now it's a little loose for me still, but I'm going to continue kind of putting it down and I might crank it up even more. All right. But right off the bat, if I was recording or doing a session and I wanted like a good beefy backbeat, that's it. I'm done. So we're going to leave it just like that.